in the next weeks and months as this bombshell has its effects across the world. Of course, we'll pretend that didn't happen. Mr. Trump says it's a wake-up call. Yeah, it sure is. And you've been asleep in a lot of ways if you haven't been able to see all of this coming. I want to talk to you today about DeepSeek, an obscure, small Chinese startup in the technology field that has shaken literally the whole world, starting with the collapse of this week in the stock market here in New York, as one sign of what this little company has been able to achieve. This is another milestone in the decline of the American capitalist system relative to its number one competitor. It's always been true in human history that you can delay technical change, but you can never stop it. The newcomers borrow, steal, buy the old technology from those who went before and quickly understand the gains to be made from taking it further. The Chinese are shifting from specialists in copying technology from the West to becoming the pioneer who develops it and begins to have to worry about who will copy them. It's a small company. It started in May of 2023. That's not very long ago, a little over a year and a half. It was started by an individual Chinese entrepreneur, a small company like many startups in China, because it is a society and an economy which stimulates, supports, finances, encourages startup new companies. His name is Liang Wenfeng, and he followed a directive from the very top of Chinese society that they want to be independent of the United States, which is hardly surprising given the hostility of the United States to them. They wanted to be independent of the chip industry in the United States, partly because it was more advanced than the Chinese. It isn't so much anymore. And because the United States government was banning export of chips and chip-making machinery to China, thereby trying, not successfully, to hold back Chinese economic and particularly technical development. Long story short, using way less money, a tiny fraction of what the money has been in this country devoted to artificial intelligence and the chips that make it possible, for much less money, they produced a product, an AI product, as good in some ways, better in other ways, than what was coming out of the huge monopolies here in the United States that control that industry. And you know who they are because they're in the newspaper every day. And as if to make it clear to the rest of the world what dominates in this country, President Trump's inauguration had behind him in the prime chairs next to the president the heads of these big monopolies, not the political officials that run this society. If you ever needed a symbol of what counts and what doesn't, there you had it. But now the Chinese have upended all of that. They not only produced with much less money an equal or better product, but they also made it freely available around the world via the internet. An extraordinary combination of moves you don't often see. It's almost as if the Chinese were trying to use this breakthrough technologically that they achieved as a way to show the whole world that the dynamic center of capitalism these days, what we in the United States call high tech or Silicon Valley or words like that, that they are able to compete and win there too. It's like the BYD corporation that you may not have heard about either, that has now produced the best quality and cheapest electric vehicles in the world, or the solar panels that the Chinese now dominate the world economy because they can produce the best quality at the lowest price. What we are seeing is nothing less than demonstration after demonstration of the technical prowess of the Communist Party of China that governs the state there, that supervises their mixed economy. Half private capitalist enterprises, half government-owned and operated enterprises. This hybrid experiment, that is what the Chinese have pioneered. That's what they mean when they say we have socialism with Chinese characteristics. And let me show you some of the lessons coming out of what the DeepSeek achievement means. A small company can do better than huge monopolistic giants, whose leaders were sitting there behind President Trump up there during the inauguration. A little company can often be more innovative and more efficient than the big ones. That's a lesson difficult to confront here in the United States, where we have allowed the giants, the Amazons, the Apples, all of them to be super monopolistic enterprises, giving their executives billions and billions of dollars, while most other Americans are worried about next month and next year's finances. But it isn't only the small versus large where this lesson is to be taken. It's also China versus the United States. This is another example, like the electric vehicle, like the solar panels, and more, that they have caught up, that they are now a super powerful economy, differently organized, but able to compete at the highest technical level. These inventions are coming from China, not from Germany or Britain or Italy, and I could go on. Not facing that, which is an American specialty, is like the ostrich with its head in the sand, so it doesn't have to face the wind that's coming toward it. Then there's the old socialism versus capitalism argument. Socialism doesn't stimulate innovation. Gee, China calls itself socialist, and China is proving that its socialism is very innovative, even against the hostility and the discrimination from the giant of capitalism, which is still the United States. And then there's the argument between capitalists and socialism about efficiency. It took billions here in the United States to develop AI chips that the Chinese have just shown us can be done, not with billions, but with $6 or $7 million. Yes, I know there are details we don't know yet, and they will modify the story. That is always true. But these parameters, these measures of difference are enormous and are not about to be undone by whatever we find out in the next weeks and months as this bombshell has its effects across the world. No, a socialism proved it could be innovative and proved it could be efficient more so than its capitalist competitors. It's a sign of a declining system. We take billions and a long time to what the new upcomer shows us could be done with lots less money in lots less time. This efficiency and innovation we're talking about is boosting the Chinese economy. People looking for AI chips, and those people are everywhere in the world right now, are going to be going and downloading the free app from this little company. Of course they are. Oh, yes, and you already hear, gee, we should be careful that the data that is assembled here will go back to China. You know, it probably will. But for the rest of the world, here's their choice. They could use American chips and wonder about the data going back to whom in the United States or China. It's no longer just the Chinese you have to worry about, it's the Americans too, which was always true. But in the United States, we like to act as though our things are no danger to anybody. But the Chinese, you see, this is over, this game. The free chip versus paying a fortune to an American monopolist is going to persuade many that the risks, while they're there, point more in the Chinese direction than they do in the American, in terms of where much of the rest of the world is going to go for the use they make of AI. And we would be better off as a nation facing it, sitting down with the Chinese and trying to work out a livable coexistence on this planet, rather than shaking the sword every time our fading empire is shown to be fading.
What do you guys think? Is Richard Wolff right about what DeepSeek just demonstrate? Please leave your comment below. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you for making it this far. If you like this video, you might want to share it with a like-minded friend. Thank you, and as always, stay blessed.